The eastern shore of Virginia is a really special place. Those of us that live here absolutely love it. We feel really connected to the land and to the water around us.
The Nature Conservancy here on the coast of Virginia, we look at ourselves as the stewards of these island habitats and these coastal marsh habitats. Back in the late 60s and early 70s, we saw that the Virginia Barrier Islands were on the brink of getting bought up and developed. That's really what instigated the purchasing of some of the barrier islands and putting them in protective status.
By doing all that protection work starting in the late 60s, now we're in an extremely unique place. The Virginia Coast Reserve is the only undeveloped stretch of the mid-Atlantic coast that's left, and it's like a giant living laboratory. We're doing habitat restoration work, and we can test things out here. We can get away with doing large-scale restoration projects, and it's much easier for us to do it than it is to do it in lots of other developed coastline areas. Seagrasses worldwide are disappearing at the rate of a couple of soccer fields worth of seagrass every hour. So we're losing this habitat globally at a really, really fast pace. And here locally, we lost the eelgrass habitat.
There was a dieback of eelgrass along the whole East Coast. It was a fungal disease, actually, that came in, and the eelgrass disappeared all along the East Coast, including our coastal bays.
When we lost our eelgrass meadows, we lost some of the fish species that we had around here. We lost some of the waterfowl that we had that were eating this grass. We lost our bay scallop fishery, and there has not been a commercially harvested bay scallop in Virginia ever since. So a lot changed once we lost that grass. We started planting seeds versus planting whole plants, which was typically done in the past. Seems to work really well here. We can restore by planting acres and acres of seeds every year, and those seeds are sprouting into plants that are so happy and healthy where they're growing here in our seaside bays that they're actually expanding on their own.
We planted about 600 acres, and now we have about 6,000 acres growing. So it is the most successful eelgrass restoration on the planet.
Now that the grass is back, there are people that are starting to find speckled trout or red drum that are using our eelgrass beds. We have enough habitat to potentially bring back the bay scallop, and eelgrass helps to make our coastlines more resilient. You wouldn't necessarily think that, but eelgrass is really good at taking some of the energy out of waves. We had just a bare sand flat out there, and as waves would roll across, they wouldn't really lose much energy before they slammed into the edge of the marsh on the inside of that bay. But now that we have all of these huge blades of eelgrass up here there in the water, in this huge underwater meadow instead of the bare flat, as waves roll across these giant prairies, they lose a significant amount of their energy before they hit that marsh, and our marsh edge will be a little more resilient and erode at a slower rate than it would have if we didn't have the eelgrass there.
Everybody wants their shoreline to persist. This is just a way we've demonstrated that we can use natural infrastructure to help this shoreline from eroding away. That's the kind of information that we can export out to the entire globe.
The ability of the islands to act as a natural defense for the mainland of the eastern shore, the best way that they're going to do that is if they're functioning naturally. And so we're looking at how the migratory bird work fits in with the marine restoration work and how that all contributes to the coastal resiliency work so that these islands function naturally the way they have functioned for tens of thousands of years.
All the lessons that we're learning here, we can teach to other communities and explain why it's important enough for them to really invest some time, effort, and money in working to make their own communities and coastlines more resilient. Marine habitat restoration really does work, and it can really have an impact.
Everything I do, I think, is really working to make these communities and this land, this place we call home, more resilient. It's a good feeling.